looking at a shot of the White House, and with good reason, we welcome you back to CBS Mornings, because today marks 1 year since President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris took office. At a news conference yesterday, the president announced Harris will be on the ticket with him in 2024 if he decides to run again. Now, that's the first time that we've heard that they could run together for re-election. Harris's vice presidency has been historic, as you know, because she's the first woman and the first person of color to serve in this position. She joined us earlier this morning to discuss the highs and lows of the last year. And now Vice President Harris joins us. Good morning to you, Madam Vice President. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Gayle. Good to be with you.
You know, I know it was a very long night in the Senate last night. As expected, the voting rights legislation did not pass last night, in part because of two of your own party members. But the president says he can take action to protect the voting rights. What specifically are you going to do?
Well, thank you, Gayle. First of all, it's really important for everyone to understand what's at stake. Around our country, there have been purposeful, direct attempts to make it more difficult for people to vote, access to the ballot. And so that's the issue. When we talk about voting rights, attacks on our democracy, if you boil it down to it, one of the specific issues is that folks are making it, people in elected offices in states are making it more difficult for their citizens to vote. So, for example, they are making it more difficult for people to vote by mail. Well, think about folks who have disabilities, parents who have, obligations every day or work 2 or 3 shifts. Voting by mail is the best way they can vote. They're passing laws eliminating or reducing the number of drop boxes. Again, if you're a single parent, a mom or a dad, you got those 3 kids in the back seat, and you want to vote, and it's much easier for you to fill out your ballot at home and drive it in the drop box than to have those kids stand with you in line. What we need to do around,
Madam Vice President. So what are you going to do? I mean, you all have laid out the case very nicely about what's at stake. And now we're here, and it didn't pass. So what will you do?
Well, what we will do is we will keep fighting to get the legislation passed, because that is critical. So we are not giving up on that. And then it is a matter of continuing to do the work of executive orders, doing the work through the Department of Justice, which has been litigating these cases in the various states, because we believe that they are a violation of the spirit of the Constitution of the United States. It is going to be about continuing to elevate this conversation, because, Gayle, frankly, you'd be surprised how many people in the burden of everyday life are unaware of what's happening in these states, but when they become aware of laws that make it illegal to give people food and water if they're standing in line, they're outraged.
We heard the president say that he intends to get out of the bubble of the White House and go and take the message directly to the people. But at this point, I know it's only 1 year. It's your 1 year anniversary today. You've got 3 years to go, but the polling is not good so far. The CBS polling out today shows only 44% of Americans approve of your job, in particular, that you all have failed to pass the Build Back Better, voting rights, and police reform. What's your new strategy to get this done? And I know you've got 3 years to go. What's the new strategy?
So, well, let's just say, to the point, I think, of the spirit of your question, polls go up and down, but we have to remain consistent in fighting for the American people and their needs. And so that is the strategy about staying focused. I'm not going to give up on the issue of affordable child care. I know
Can you
that
do
there
that
are
without
many
Congress?
parents.
Madam Vice President, can you do that without Congress?
You know, I will tell you, and you'll appreciate this, Gayle. Last week I was in Atlanta, and I had a visit with Ambassador Andy Young, who was probably one of the last living members of those leaders who marched with and advised Dr. King. And he said to me, you know, we had ups and downs in the fight for civil rights and for progress in this country, but you can't give up. And you can't give up on the spirit of the American people to want things to be better. And that's how I feel. I take that seriously. So, yes, we're not going to give up on the affordable child care. We're not going to give up on some of these issues that really get to the heart of what people need and they want. They want solutions. They want things to be fixed. They want to enjoy their families and not have to worry about some of these issues.
Let's turn to Ukraine and Russia, because I'm wondering if you all are having a cleanup in aisle 3 in the State Department today, where the president raised a couple of eyebrows when he seemed to make the distinction between a minor incursion and an all-out invasion. And so the people in Ukraine today, we understand, are very upset with that, because they believe that the president has given President Putin the green light What do you say to that? Because it does seem to be very confusing.
So the president, let me just first tell you, I start every morning reading the presidential daily briefing, which contains classified information about threats to our national security and hotspots around the world. I am often in meetings in the Situation Room where the president and I and members of our leadership of our military, our intelligence community convene on these issues. The president of the United States, Joe Biden, has been very clear on the subject of Ukraine, which is that if Russia takes aggressive action, there will be severe and swift consequences. That there will be a price to pay.
He didn't seem to say that yesterday, though, at the news conference. That's why that's why I think clarification is needed.
Well, we are very clear, and we've been very clear with Putin, that any aggressive action taken by Russia will meet a cost, a severe cost.
Let's talk about COVID, because you all ran on, we are going to get COVID under control. We are going to get this licked. And as we sit here today, as you know, we're going into year 3. We are still talking about COVID. And you all admitted, listen, we've made some mistakes. We're going to do better. We're going to be better. The schools, can the kids go to schools? In New Mexico, the National Guard is being asked to be substitute teachers, all because of COVID. So it is not under control. So I'm wondering, what is your strategy here? And have you come to the point that we have all got to figure out how to live with COVID?
So I'm going to try to unpack the various important
I know there's
points
a lot,
that you've
but
made. But they're important points. So let's start with our children, okay? Which should always be where we start, frankly. If you look at where we were last year, where we were certainly at the beginning of this pandemic, we know that comparing then to now, we've seen great progress. We're over 95% of our schools are open. We now have vaccines for our children who are over the age of 5. So we have seen great progress. We, as an administration, put $310 billion into the schools of America to help upgrade ventilation systems and make sure that they have the resources they need to keep both our children and their teachers safe in the school.
People will say, Madam Vice President, it's not enough. And have you reached the point that you have to say, we've got to figure out a way to live with this, or do you still believe we can get this under control?
There is still more work to be done. We started out with very few people getting vaccinated, and we now have 210 million Americans who have been vaccinated. We need everyone to take seriously and take advantage of the tools that are available to them. You know, what I will tell you, Gayle, that one of the things that inspires me about this moment in the midst of everything is the incredible power of the American people to take advantage of the tools that are available to them and say that they're not going to let things happen to them. They're going to actually do what they have in their power, and that includes getting vaccinated. It includes wearing masks. It includes doing the work that we must do. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, the White House admits they're just as frustrated as we all are with COVID, but the bottom line is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah, and the same is true when it comes to international affairs and the situation in Ukraine. I don't think Americans have an appetite for troops on the ground there, and so it's got to be sanctions, and it doesn't seem like Putin cares about sanctions. So
and on the other hand, people say, look, this is only 1 year. It's in the middle of a pandemic. There's 3 years to go. There's still work to be done, and they want to do the work.
I know, but there's that midterm vote.